see that. So our second speaker, did you want to start the recording, Angela?
It started.
Okay, thank you. So our second speaker today in webinar 2 is Diego Rodriguez. He's the CEO of the Wireless Broadband Alliance, responsible for leading the overall strategy together with the WBA board and the operational planning for the WBA. And the topic today from Tiago is Wi-Fi convergence with 5G, an opportunity today and tomorrow. So I hand it over to you, please, Tiago. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you so much, Mike. So hello, everyone. A big thank you for the invitation to be here today with all of you. As you can see by the title of my presentation, I'm going to talk not directly about AI, but about the connectivity fabric that somehow will enable not only AI, but as well other important features like AR, VR, and all the virtualization strategies, either in ports or in any other vertical. For this connectivity fabric, I will cover mainly 3 topics. I will cover very briefly the evolution of Wi-Fi as a technology, but then I want to talk about how Wi-Fi and 5G can help each other in terms of a conversion strategy in many use cases, and as well how one specific project of the Alliance that is called Open Roaming is enabling that convergence. But first, let me just spend 2 minutes to talk about the Wireless Broadband Alliance. I believe many of you probably will not know who is WBA, as we call it. So WBA is the typical non-profit trade association that is supported by a group of companies. And we have this vision to create a seamless and interoperable experience on Wi-Fi, taking in consideration that Wi-Fi normally coexists with other wireless technologies. For that, we develop a series of work that includes product or technology guidelines, industry standards. We do testing and interoperability. We do end-to-end trials as well, and we do some type of certification. We have around 150 members in the community, and we run not only projects and programs, but we have events, and we do as well market research and marketing for our members. Let me just give you a quick highlight on what are the companies behind WBA, because at the end of the day, they are the ones that somehow drive this organization forward. So it's a mix of operators from the mobile industry, from the cable broadband industry, but as well chipset manufacturers, device manufacturers, and infrastructure manufacturers from the telecom space. And you can see some of the companies on our board, companies like BT or Intel or Deutsche Telekom are on the board of the Alliance. Interesting for our talk today is to start to understand the type of work that the Alliance does. So we run a series of projects and programs. Personally, for today, I would like to highlight basically three of these work groups. And I know that this is a very busy slide. My intention is not go over everything, but definitely our 5G work group, there is a lot of momentum on the conversion between Wi-Fi and 5G. In particularly, at this moment, our members are working on 5G and Wi-Fi conversions for specific private 5G networks. Then we have as well a substantial amount of work on Wi-Fi 6, Wi-Fi 6E. That basically Wi-Fi 6E is the flavor of Wi-Fi 6, but using additional spectrum on the 6 gigahertz, and lots of momentum as well on how can we use Wi-Fi 6 and Wi-Fi 6E for the industrial IoT or Industry 4.0. And that's where I want to start my presentation, coming from that angle. Starting by sharing what are the connectivity needs today, not only from an enterprise point of view, but as well, in many cases, from a consumer point of view. Definitely, we need further, faster, and cheaper connectivity. The topic that was raised before with Alex, all the topics on security, trust, privacy are fundamental for the future of connectivity. Sustainability is, as well, as many of you know, a top concern in many of the governments around the world. Wireless connectivity is essential. I think this is not new to any of us. And then reliability, latency, and coverage will be vital. And as we know, we are going to have many more machines than people connected. And the case of the ports from Alex is an excellent one. So in a port, probably we'll have many more things connected than people. And as an example. So to cover with that, all the technology has been evolving, and I don't know how much visibility you have, but I think it's important just to give a highlight that Wi-Fi as a technology has been evolving along the years. So Wi-Fi now is on the sixth generation of Wi-Fi, the Wi-Fi 6, that has more throughput, better latency, and even extra battery life for the different equipments. But more important than that is there is more spectrum coming to unlicensed use, and Wi-Fi can take advantage of that spectrum, especially on the 6 gigahertz band. So it's from my point of view, it's good to see the trend that is happening on the Wi-Fi technology, like many other, like the cellular technology and others. They have as well a trend of developments and improvements. So good to see this evolution. Then just to sharing with you, we ran a series of research in terms of the drivers for growth of Wi-Fi, and here you can see a snapshot from our report from this year that in fact was released a few weeks back. That shows the top vertical markets where investments on Wi-Fi are occurring. So you can see topics like smart cities, retail, education campus, hospitality, smart transportation, healthcare, all coming as the verticals where higher investments will be made, but then as well the top applications, streaming video, IoT, roaming, and voice over Wi-Fi, but then coming up already innovative services like VR, AR, and as well analytics coming on these lists. And this shows, in my view and the views of the Alliance, the importance of looking to the connectivity evolution as a convergence between Wi-Fi and 5G. We have been pushing this agenda since 2017, and many studies are already highlighting the benefits of combining these two worlds, that from a technology point of view, they are very different. But in terms of delivery of capabilities, they are getting closer and closer. There is one table here that you can look that is from a study from Deloitte, a research that they did on enterprise adoption and evolution of their connectivity. And you can see from all the data that 80% of the companies that were contacted by Deloitte, they are already either deploying or testing both 5G and Wi-Fi 6 as a combined strategy instead of having one single technology strategy. And that has been the work that we have been doing over these last years. I don't want to go through every single document that we publish in the last years, but good to highlight that we did a lot of architecture comparisons, the benefits of integrate elements of the 5G ecosystem into the Wi-Fi 6 ecosystem and vice versa. And now those next generation networks can benefit from both technologies. The current work in place by the members is, as I said, focusing on these private 5G networks. And now Wi-Fi can help the private 5G to augment not only capacity coverage, but as well more use cases by being able to connect multiple and different types of devices and multiple and different types of applications. If you are interested on this type of work, all these documents are available for download on our website. So I will invite you to go to the website and download it if it's of your interest. And all these conversions is coming in part by comparing the IMT 2020 requirements, that is the requirements for 5G defined by ITU and ETNO. That's the benefits of comparing all these different requirements, and we can match the capabilities coming up with 5G and as well the capabilities coming up with Wi-Fi 6. And the interesting part that I would like to highlight is each technology has is pros and cons. And that's where we see the benefits of combining both. In some cases, we'll make total sense just to use 5G. In some cases, we'll make total sense just to use Wi-Fi 6. And in some cases, we'll make total sense to use both. I always say that no one is going to put Wi-Fi in a highway for hundreds and hundreds of kilometers. Doesn't make sense. That's typical an application for 5G for fast mobility. And then probably on a tall building of offices, definitely Wi-Fi will be there. And the densification that Wi-Fi can bring and that capacity by square meter, it's much stronger from a business case, much stronger than the 5G. So that's almost once more a no-brainer to implement Wi-Fi. And that has been the agenda that we have been delivering. And one key component to deliver that agenda is the reasons why these conversions make sense. So in terms of business drivers, as we all know, normally Wi-Fi, not only from a chipset point of view, is cheaper, but as well is available in many more devices than a cellular 4G or 5G device. Then we already talked about Wi-Fi advances, especially in terms of capacity per square meter, but as well another important point is how Wi-Fi can help the overall 5G business case by having this lower total cost of ownership. So it's very common, and many of our members are working on how can I deploy both technologies. In some cases, they may even have an overlap of coverage, but in some particular cases, I will use one or the other depending on the specific use case that I want to address. And then what we talked about, capacity, reliability, and a very important topic, seamless mobility, that I will talk more about that. And then many of these applications, and Max, Alex has talked about a good example, the ports, but it can be retail, healthcare, logistics, or even smart cities can take a lot of benefits of both technologies. On this seamless mobility angle, I want to talk a little bit about to another program of the Alliance that is called Open Roaming. And basically, Open Roaming is a roaming federation to provide automatic and secure onboarding of devices into a Wi-Fi network. And basically, what is behind Open Roaming is to replicate the experience that we all have on the cellular industry. So all of us as consumers, we can go to any country in the world, and when we arrive to that destination, we can switch on our mobile phones, and it's going to work almost as magic. Because there is interoperability between all the cellular networks. When we go to the Wi-Fi world, the Wi-Fi world is much more complex than cellular because the number of networks available in the world in Wi-Fi, it's much bigger than the cellular. So we can have, just in one city, we can have probably thousands and thousands of Wi-Fi networks. And that's where we need a different approach to make this interoperability between all the networks. And that's why the members create this roaming federation called Open Roaming. And the idea behind is to be able to provide that seamless or automatic experience. So this slide simulates a normal day of any of us. So we are at home. Normally we drive to our office or to our school or to our university. When we are at home, normally we are connected with our Wi-Fi at home. And then when we get onto the car and we drive to the office, we are on cellular. And then on the office, probably I have Wi-Fi or cellular, and I will pick up one of them, or even my device can pick up automatically one of them. And then I go for a lunch. Same is happening. I can, during my walk to the restaurant, I can be on cellular, but then when I'm in the restaurant, I'm on Wi-Fi, and that continues along the way. And what our members and many of the enterprise and operators see of interest is how can I use all this capacity available the best we can. And that depends not only on the capacity of each networks at each moment, but as well on the type of devices that we are using during these day-to-day activities. And that's where Open Roaming can help, because Open Roaming provides that fully automatic authentication with a strong authentication mechanisms. There is no need to identify or the user to select SSID, because behind Open Roaming is using a technology called Passpoint or Hotspot 2.0 that selects the network automatically. And that creates a very interesting use case, not only for the operators, but as well for enterprises, to deliver identities to the different devices to be used on the cellular or Wi-Fi whenever needed. And that is the goal of the federation, basically to bring together two worlds. So the world of all the Wi-Fi networks that exist, so like from operators, hotels, convention centers, airports, ports, universities, and so on. And all these networks could be users can use all these networks by using one certified identity. And that identity can be the SIM card of a mobile operator, but can be as well a certificate created by a cable operator, one brand loyalty program from, I don't know, from our common supermarket or from our bank, or even from an airline company. Or can even be one identity from your device manufacturer or from social media platforms. So you can use one identity from one trusted party that already know you and will allow you to use any of these networks that are part of the federation. If I can make a comparison, is somehow like the Visa card. So all of us, we have these credit cards from Visa. They are giving us by our bank. And in reality, our bank is not talking with every single retail store that accept Visa. So that's the same concept. So once you are in the federation, you get one identity from a trusted party, and then you can use in any of the networks that are capable of accepting that identity. And this can be not only applicable to the common consumer devices that we all have, but we are getting as well a lot of interest, and we have already some deployments on the IoT component. So all the IoT use cases that they need some kind of mobility, they can use as well this technology as one other option to identify all those devices and connect them to the internet. And with this, I just want to take a few takeaways just to pass the message from the Alliance. So when we look to this connectivity fabric, we put ourselves in a position that is not either one or the other, but it's always both. And a 5G strategy for us is a combination of multiple technologies that will help to delivery the overall 5G connectivity capability. Uh, Passing the message as well from a technical point of view, there is a blurring between Wi-Fi 6 and 5G capabilities. But at the same time, that creates a good number of opportunities for Wi-Fi and 5G. At the same time, is complicating the policy decisions how to be sure that we are always best connected. And there is a substantial amount of work on 3GPP, IEEE to work on options and platforms that can help the devices or the sensors to be able to identify what is the best connectivity fabric to connect at each moment. Then very important user experience, that ability to bring to the Wi-Fi that fully automatic experience. Open roaming is part of that solution. There are other federations available. The most common one is for the university campus, the EduRoam. So these type of initiatives will make the user experience not only easier, but much more secure and private, securing the privacy of all of us, or securing the privacy or a sensor of any IoT device. The combination of these two technologies will enlarge capacity coverage, and of course will help with the financials and the business case for the 5G. And at the same time, it's enabling a completely new marketplace where we'll have multiple players working together, and we foreseen an industry where many of the enterprises that they have very relevant real estate will engage much more with the operators, and they will have new collaboration opportunities, and new stakeholders will work together. So I hope this was interesting to share some of these views on the evolution of Wi-Fi and the convergence with 5G. And of course, you can always contact me for more information if you like to get any additional clarification from my side. And I'm open to any questions that you may have.
Yeah, thanks, Thiago. We have a few questions that have come in. So the first one is from Amanda. How would you vary from organizations like the GSMA?
Yeah, GSMA is a good partner of WBA. We have produced a good, well, we produced several common documents. One of them is the Wi-Fi roaming guidelines for operators. Definitely, we see GSMA as a partner, and we want to collaborate with them as much as possible. What I can share is, as I shared on my last slide, there is a blur between the technologies. So, for example, it starts to become very interesting when I can connect to Wi-Fi using my SIM card. Not only because it's a strong authentication mechanism, but that's where conversion starts to happen. So I'm using components of a mobile technology. I'm starting to use on Wi-Fi, and that is the trend and collaboration we have been doing with GSMA.
Okay, thank you. And then one more question there. Do you think that wireless technologies, other ones like Zigbee, Bluetooth, NFC, LTE, do you think they're going to compete with Wi-Fi and 5G, or will they coexist?
Yeah, that's an interesting question, and I will answer is a yes and no. Definitely, in some use cases, the technology will compete because it may make sense just to use one. But in my opinion and looking to all the work in the alliance, normally it's much more compelling uh, to to use multiple technologies. So let's pick up the example that Alex shared with us, a port. In a port, we have multiple use cases. We have users with laptops, we have sensors, we have smartphones, we have drones, we have augmented reality, maybe glasses. So there are so many different use cases. We have, coming back to IoT, we may have 4K video camera, but then we have a very simple sensor just to say if a door is open or closed. So there are so many different use cases inside a port or inside one hospital that we need to use multiple technologies. That one single technology will not economically will not address everything. So by combining them on those different verticals, we'll take the best out of that deployment.
Brilliant. Thank you very much, Tiago. That's probably all we have time for. And again, that will be recorded and available after. Thank you.
Okay.